Alright, I expect I'll be doing a whole lot of pausing and going and possibly cutting of this video as well as the last one, but here we go with Command & Conquer's Red Alert OSTs. Now, before I begin, I want to note that I actually was going through the Command & Conquer wiki to sort of get some background on these songs. Basically, that's how I know these games, some of these songs covert operations or not, because it actually tells you here in this list here. You can also go through the remaster collection here, and this is also pretty helpful too, because this gives you a breakdown of a lot of stuff as well. I'll be doing the same one for this one here as well, because we have some specifically Red Alert Vanilla OSTs. Then we have Retaliation and Counter-Strike and Aftermath here. All the good stuff basically. So yeah, it's basically all about finding a song and then determining if it's part of the Aftermath tracks, or it's basically part of Counter-Strike tracks or something like that. Alright, I'm rambling at this point. Let's get to it then, shall we? So, here's the music jukeboxing game. This time I'm not actually going to remove the Retaliation Remix stuff here because of reasons I'll basically get to when I get down to a crush here. But for now, Erazoid. Oh, note these songs are a whole lot longer than the last ones for Command & Conquer. So there's less 3-minute, 2-minute tracks. There's more 4-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute tracks. A lot more to go with this one for sure. Erazoid's first. Alright, well, I just finished listening to Erazoid here. So, Erazoid. Let's just do a quick check here. So, Erazoid. So, this is basically a Counter-Strike theme. And I have to say, it's a very cool one, but it does have an issue with it. And that issue to me is that this doesn't really feel like it's a Red Alert theme, but more so it's basically a Tiberium theme. This is basically a theme that I basically more or less associate with Tiberium Sun to be exact, where you have overgrown Tiberium and it's sort of warfare based aesthetic is going on in the background of GDI and Nod. It's a great theme overall. No, don't get me wrong, but it's just not one I basically associate with Red Alert. And I think for those reasons I'm basically going to throw in Laudable. I think that's basically the best way I can basically deal with it, so that's what we're going to do with it. Alright, next one's going to be our waiting. And we can just go in here, and we'll go wait. So, not using the base game due to being misnamed as, await. So, this is technically going to be a Counter-Strike track, but, it could technically be called a basic one for the original that was basically just never used. Let's see what it says here if I put in a wait. Yeah, it was called Wait in the original game, but was renamed in Remaster, so there's that. Alright, well, I'll give this a listen, I'll be right back. Alright, well, I just listened to Awaiting. What can I say about Awaiting? So, I basically want, feel as this is sort of running into the same problem that Erazoid basically had, but not so much for the fact that basically, this game, this game music basically relates to Tiberium's sort of universe more, but to basically throw it out there, I found out a way basically relates more to Dune, and Emperor Battlefield Dune or Dune 2, where you have the spice flows and the desert winds and stuff like that, sort of going on. It can work for both CNC and CNC Red Alert, but Dune, that's basically where I would throw this music basically. So again, it's a great tune, I guess, but well, actually I'd say it's mediocre. It has problems with really identifying for me to the CNC universe as opposed to Dune, so it's not as good as Erazoid basically, just throw it down here. Alright, Backstab is next. So let's just do a quick look at it. So Backstab, and this is our Counter-Strike track. Alright, well, I'll be back in a few minutes, I guess. Alright, I'm coming to the end of Backstab here. And I feel like a bit of a broken record at this point, but Backstab really much has the same problem that, like, Arizona and Waiting basically does, in that it doesn't really feel like it's a CNC Red Alert theme as opposed to, like, one of the other games. Backstab to me, like, feels more like it's Tiberium Sun again, so I can't really rank it all that high, so I think we're just going to throw it basically into Laudable. It's a good theme, nonetheless, like, Aerozoid, but it just isn't like, Red Alert. Alright, Bigfoot. This one is definitely Red Alert, so, well, at least have that to go for this one. Alright, so Bigfoot. So, this is basically from, like, the vanilla set of OSTs. The original Red Alert. Not like, one of the, like, expansions, but the actual original game. And you know what? I don't need to start listening to the rest of this, basically. I'll listen in a moment, but I can already tell you, fantastic. Alright, I'll listen to it now and I'll get back to why it's fantastic. Alright, I'm coming to the end of Bigfoot here. And yeah, this is just a fantastic OST. This really gets into what Red Alert is basically all about. Because it really feels like, it's in tempo with, like, the game's, like, sort of, like, speed and stuff like that, as opposed to, like, Command & Conquer. It also hits, like, a lot of the aspects that make it, like, different versus, like, Command & Conquer. So, let's like, finish up here a little bit, but the thing about this song is that it has, like, a sort of, like, build-up sort of aspect here, where you're basically starting out. Then the song will basically go into, like, this sort of, like, industrial sounding, like, theme here. And you have to remember that Red Alert is basically very much a game about building, like, massive amounts of units to, like, send at your enemies, as opposed to Command & Conquer. And again, it's like the combat, basically, like, where you basically send those units basically against each other. And the part just, like, has, like, different, like, vibes to it, basically. So you have, like, build up, like, of, like, units, you have, like, balance like that. You have, like, downtime where, like, you're just harvesting, sort of waiting. And then you start building up your units again. And it's back into the groove of fighting each other. So yeah, Bigfoot. It's a fantastic OST. It deserves to be called fantastic. It deserves to be at the top of the list. That's where we're going to leave it. Alright, Bog. I believe Bog is another one of these, yeah, it's an Aftermath track. So, now we're into the Aftermath. Alright, I'll see you guys in a few minutes this time around. Alright, I'm coming to the end of Bog here, and what can I say about this track? This one actually feels like it's Red Alert again. It's not as good, I don't think, as Bigfoot, but it's still a pretty good track. Wow, it really dies in the end there, doesn't it? So, Bog basically, sort of like, makes me think, like, it's basically very, like, atmospheric, and, like, how it's basically being portrayed here. And not really in a sense of, like, Command & Conquer, but more like in a sense, of course, of Red Alert, which is basically like what it's about. Now, I'm not really sure it's basically entirely fitting of Red Alert, but it does, like, fit a lot better than, like, the other tracks. I think I'll say this one's laudable, and I'll just leave it right there. Alright, Chaos is next. Alright, before I, like, start listening to it. So again, a Counter-Strike track here. There's Chaos right there for Counter-Strike. I don't actually need this here, so let's get rid of it. And on to listening to this track I go. Alright, I'm coming to the end of Chaos here. So this is another track that actually feels like it's very alert as opposed to like, Command and Conquer. I won't say it's a perfect track, but it's definitely one of the more excellent ones, so we'll throw that one in excellent. Despite being called Chaos, by the way, this is a really like, an interesting mix of like, sounds, so to speak. It has like a sort of like, progression to like its like rhythm. Now, I won't say it's like, fantastic this one because I feel like it does like, sort of like mix a little bit too much with like the, original game, but not as much as it is like the other ones. And it's definitely still like an excellent theme overall, so excellent is excellent, at least. Now, I'm gonna get into Crush next. Now, I basically left like the Retaliation remixes here because, well, let's listen to this like, bit here a little bit for a little bit. I'll let this basically play for a minute, like Crush. Soul Survivor right here. One of the originals right from here. Now I'm gonna basically let this play for like a minute. And then I'm just gonna start like, playing the Retaliation remix here in a moment. Maybe we'll go to like a minute and a half. By the way, this is going to be like, a very fantastic song for sure, but, whatever. That's enough. So, this is the Retaliation remix from like the Retaliation CD for PlayStation and such, the consoles. Ignore this like little like initial part, but basically the groove for this one. Note that's been like changed up a little bit for like the remix here. And it's like changed a lot, basically, as you like go through the entire sound for this one. So that's why I'm basically like, show us off here a little bit for this one. And yeah, this will be fantastic, by the way. I feel like Crush really gets into like the groove of what like, Reller's basically all about, by the way. But this song here, Crush, because like it's very different for both the remixes, I basically wanted to sort of like, note it because it's distinctly different to sort of like tone basically for it in a Retaliation like remix. Like this is different right here. There was no like, this like sort of sound effect basically in like the original Red Alert one. And I'll get to the part where it's like, really starts to groove. And yeah, it's like very mixed up like first like the original one, isn't it? I was also actually considering like if I should actually have the remixes like separate, but I decided that like, I just like, sort of rate them as like both the same. It's worth knowing, by the way, the remix actually has like vocals in it as well, so maybe I'll actually just let it play it up to those like vocals and then like, we'll just go into like dance right after. Now, note by the way, for like the vocals for like this OST, I actually sort of like them because it's not all the way through sort of like Radio 2, which will be coming up a lot later, but right at the end basically. And it's basically all about crushing the resistance and the stuff like that.
For centuries we have waited to emerge from the shadows, and now we will make ourselves known.
Soon we will stand. Soon we will stand. Soon we will stand invincible. Soon we will stand. Soon we will stand. Soon we will stand invincible. If you fail, do not return.
No prisoners, no survivors.
If you fail, do not return.
I am the future.
You know, it's really hard to say if I actually like the remix like theme better than like the original one. I'm more also like, you know, sort of rating them together, but I will note that like they are very distinct. I figure it's like worth basically throwing it out there. They're different from each other for sure. I think they're the only ones that are like very different like this, by the way, besides the other ones having like vocals, but you know, it deserved a mention for sure, basically at the start of this, I guess. So that's basically Crush. Both like, you know, the minute and a half of like the original one, like, you know, the remix right there. Alright, next one's gonna be Dense. So we got one that's basically saying wrong things here. Dense, where are you? So this is basically one of the original ones. Alright, well, I'll give this a listen. I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, well, I'm getting to the end of Dense here. Mediocre. So, I'll note that Dense basically certainly feels like it's a regular, like, you know, OST. But the problem with Dense is that it feels like, you know, not really in, like, you know, tune with, like, the gameplay of, like, Red Alert, which is basically sort of, like, fast-paced and, like, no downtime, so to speak. The thing about Red Alert is that versus, like, you know, Command & Conquer is that it's a lot more high, like, you know, octane, sort of, like, you know, build lots of stuff and throw them at the enemies. And this, like, theme, like, you know, right here, sort of reminds me more of, like, you know, Command & Conquer's, like, slow, methodical gameplay. And I can actually see, like, this being, like, a Command & Conquer theme as well, but it's definitely, like, you know, a Red Alert theme for sure. Anyhow, that's Dense. And now we get to face the enemy. The first one. There's actually two of them here to go through, so... Face the enemy. So, these tracks were not included in the Red Alert soundtrack disc, apparently. Okay. It's apparently one of the original ones. The two tracks on a disc. Alright, interesting. I guess we'll consider this to be like one of the original tracks, but whatever. I'll give it a listen and be right back. Alright, we're getting to the end of Face the Enemy 1 here. So, I'll note that Face the Enemy really does feel like it could be like a regular theme again, but it's got that problem of feeling like it could be like, you know, part of like another game, especially like, you know, Dune, for example, here. Not a bad track, but, you know, I think I'll just go in laudable for it. Okay, Face the Enemy 2 is basically going to be next. Alright, so Face the Enemy 2 is right here. I'm guessing this is probably one of the, like, you know, original ones here. Oh, this is exclusive to Retaliation. So this is a, you know, Retaliation, like, you know, track. Okay. So, this would have been exclusive to consoles. I wonder how it sounds. I'll tell you in 5 minutes, I guess, what my thoughts are. Alright, I'm coming to the end of Face the Enemy 2. And I have to say, this one actually feels like it's more red alert, so... that one will go up to an excellent, I think. And, you know, this really makes me think that I really should have a separate, like, you know, one for Crush here, because... you know, the Crush remix is very different from, like, the original Crush, so... they really should both be, like, you know, just separate things. Not so much for the other Retaliation ones, they all sort of sound the same as, like, the similar ones, but, you know... it's worth doing, basically. Alright, I'm going to be breaking for lunch in a moment, but when I get back, I'll be getting back to floating here. Just going to remove all these, though, first. Yeah, it's like, you know, annoying removing these because it's just keeps going up and down and all this stuff or whatever. The floating will be next. But that'll be when I come back. For now, I'll just break it here and we'll, you know, come back for it. I might be bringing this into multiple parts this one. We'll see. Alright, I'm back for a little more. And I made a decision. The Crush Retaliation Remix is basically a lot different from like the original Crush, so... even though I haven't really been like, you know, including the Retaliation Remixes or the OSTs from the original one, basically it's like, you know, their own thing. I felt here it was basically like, you know, deserved, so... there. Fixed. Alright, now, I left you guys off and floating here. I'll give it a listen, and I'll be right back. Before I do so, this is apparently an Aftermath track. Oh, apparently he didn't initially appear in the game. That's good to know. Whoops. Entering the wrong thing here. So, this is an Aftermath track. I'll give you my thoughts in 4 minutes, I guess. Alright, I'm getting to the end of floating here. I'm not really sure what to say about floating. I can see this being like a, you know, another Command and Conquer type of track, but it is definitely like, you know, distinct from the rest of like the other tracks that like, you know, Arizona and other ones basically sort of mentioned as like, you know, being Command and Conquer-ish. This one feels like its own thing. And to that end, I feel it's this, you know, it doesn't really like called an excellent track. So I think that's basically where we're gonna throw this one. Alright, so the next one I'll be listening to is Fogger. And Fogger would help if I actually typed this in right. These tracks are not included in a regular soundtrack disc, apparently. Okay. Interesting. So the second regular just completes base games and game music, and adds bonus tracks and music that was originally exclusive to PlayStation Retaliation's release. So this is like another ones that are, I guess like weren't included basically initially in the initial game, but they are basically like, you know, part of the vanilla basically, you know, game for the most part, or Retaliation. Well, I'll give her a listen. I'll be right back. You know, listening to his tracks basically makes me think of something important to basically say here. Because Red Alert is basically a much more fast-paced game than like the original Command & Conquer Tiberium and Dawn, you basically don't want to have like, you know, very slow-paced like music that like, you know, has a sort of like beat to it like Fang or like, you know, the other ones basically from like Tiberium Dawn. But this one here, I can see this being like a good music basically to have like, you know, fast-paced like tanks moving around and all that stuff. And that's the same like, with floating as well, basically, as well. Anyhow, Fogger here. I think it's an excellent track for what it's basically supposed to do in-game. The Fogger, it's excellent. Alright, Gloom is next. So there's Gloom. Apparently I don't have a spell Gloom, but apparently it's right there. Aftermath track apparently. Okay. And yep, Aftermath track. Getting lots of Aftermath tracks basically in like the early letters here, I guess, but whatever. That's fine. Getting close to it, you know. You know, listening to these old tracks basically from like Red Alert reminds me of the good old days when, you know, when you basically bought the game, you received like a secondary CD with like, you know, the tracks basically on it. You can basically listen to on your radio and such. Just pop a CD in, play some Red Alert tunes wherever you go, PC or not. And I'm basically trying to keep that nostalgia at bay to basically judge these like, you know, tracks, but even now, these tracks are still pretty good. I mean, it could be doing a little bit more. And I think this is only laudable, as opposed to like, you know, Fogger or Floating, which are basically excellent, but yeah, that's pretty good, Gloom. Alright, so, Groundwire is going to be next. And apparently this is going to be in our Aftermath track, as you may see right there. This sounds like a really good one. Alright. See you guys in a bit. Groundwire. Fantastic. Now, I will note that Groundwire basically reminds me, like, you know, of a song that could exist basically in, like, Tiberium Dawn, or even, like, the Doom universe, but this is very much a song that I could see, like, you know, existing in any of these universes for the most part. It basically is just awesome. I mean, you can basically put it anywhere, I think, and it like, just fits right in. Because it doesn't really, like, you know, relate to Tiberium. You can see it basically relating to Spice if you want to, or, like, you know, the more, like, you know, militaristic nature of, like, you know, armors and stuff. Just a good all-around track. Especially this one coming up is a good on track as well, by the way. Now, the question for Hellmarch is how to rate this, basically. I'll note that, as you can basically see here, Hellmarch basically has, like, you know, 2 different times here for, like, the remix and, like, you know, the original. And that's because the original basically, like, you know, keeps going on after, like, the 3.5 minutes, while, you know, the Retaliation Remix and basically all the other ones basically stop at 3.5. I'm just going to do this right now. We already know what it's going to be, so fantastic. But yeah, Hellmarch. They knew it was fantastic, like, you know, from the get-go. That's why it basically became the title theme for Red Alert, right? And it's definitely Red Alert. Not like, you know, Command and Conquer Dawn or, you know, Tiberium Sun, Dune, or whatever. It's Red Alert. Wholesale. And I can see here basically why, by the way, because basically you got, like, you know, a mix of different things all around. You have the boots marching, you have, like, you know, the rockin' nature right here. The other sound effects basically happen, like, you know, later on after this, basically here, where it goes boom. Boom. Just gotta love Hellmarch. Alright, I'm gonna pause it, but I'll come right back about halfway through the song here. Alright, and coming to, like, you know, the end of, like, the first part of Hellmarch here, the original one. Now, at this point, it's basically continuing on into, like, you know, the second part. And the question is really how do I rate this part, basically, like, you know, Hellmarch, if I basically, like, you know, consider it, like, his own thing. And it's something to note, by the way, even though, like, you know, this is, like, a different part of, like, the song, like, you know, versus the other ones, this is still an awesome beat, basically, for, like, Hellmarch here. I mean, it's not really, like, you know, orienting itself around, like, any specific notion of, like, you know, the gameplay aspects, but it's still awesome. How to rate Hellmarks at this point? I'm still gonna say it's fantastic, probably, but whatever. You know, I was gonna keep like playing this part because like everyone's basically heard the first part of Hellmarks, but not really the like second part here. You know, I sort of wish that like Kopaku could possibly make like a Hellmarks continued, which basically just like deals with like, the second part of the song here. Cause it's still an awesome beat. It's a little bit repetitive, like sort of like his old works, but it's still pretty good. So. Just gotta love it. And I'll get back into the footsteps. And calling out the guy. Oh, this is just footsteps. Okay. Just remembered that part, but oh well. Oh, there we go. So, there's Hellmarch. Let's drop down the intro menu here. Alright, so, this is basically like the intro menu. We basically like start up the game. You know, for title screen music, this is pretty good. I mean, you're not even playing the game yet, and it's basically got an awesome like OST basically going for it here. You know, it's funny. I'm basically going over here to this list a lot and going, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic for Red Alert. Even though in my mind I consider the Freedom Dawn music a whole lot better than like Red Alert's music, but whatever. Yes, my total list of everything's gonna be looking a lot different from these ones, I think, but whatever. I rate all the music together. You know, it's funny with like the menu like music here. It doesn't need to be like 3 minutes long, but it is. I mean, you're probably going to be in the menu for like half a minute, right? So this is a lot of effort for the intro. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say this one's fantastic, or excellent from fantastic, because it's not entirely like doing a whole lot besides it being menu music. It's still an excellent track for like the menu, but it takes 2 minutes basically to get to this point where you have like something different sort of happening really. So that could come a little bit sooner, I think. Yep, only a minute left for this song. You know, imagine if I like started like from like 2 minutes basically on, having like this music basically popping in. This would still be an awesome like intro music basically. And yes, this is like even good music for like in-game music as well. Even though it's not used for that. And I should go without saying that the intro music is basically the vanilla stuff because it was basically from the get-go to start. It was like game. So intro music, intro menu. All right, map theme's gonna be coming after this. Again, that'll also be like from the original game. All the sound effects basically popping up in the background at this point. Boop, boop. You hover over stuff and like click it and it goes doop. Good theme for what it basically does. No, I'm not by itself. It's just mediocre. Because it's like the same sort of like premium stuff here. Now, Milton Force basically comes after. That's basically the credits, I think. Or maybe it's like, the scoring screen. I can't remember. Yeah, this is a scoring screen. So, this basically happens, like, this OST happens whenever you get, like, your scoring screen for, like, the allies or so after mission complete. Do 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 do. And again, you probably wouldn't be in like the scoring screen for more than half a minute, but whatever. This is actually a track that's worth like you might stop if you actually listen to it, right? At least for a minute. Do I rate this one excellent or fantastic, this one? It's probably just going to be an excellent, I think. Excellent, excellent regardless, though. Now, I will know at this point, I'm actually thinking if I should go back to Floating and Fogger to sort of listen to him again. I'm more of actually, like, should have them as, like, excellent, like, pieces, but whatever. We'll continue on to Mud for now. Alright, so Mud. So the Mud refixes Soul Survivor, makes sense. And this is basically one of the original ones. So we should go up here and we'll see Mud. Yep, there's Mud right there. I'll already tell you guys, this one already feels like it's Red Alert music, so it's got that going for it. I'll be right back. Definitely a Red Alert OST for sure, Mud. And it really shows that, like, Kopaki made a lot better atmospheric tracks basically for Red Alert than he did, like, for Command & Conquer. I'm gonna go for that one, excellent. And I'm basically gonna go back to look at Floating and Fogger, I think, just to think about them again and see if I, like, think they should be up there. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna knock this down to Laudable. It is a good track, it's just not that great, so... It's basically a track that I could see being in, like, Ear to Ear and Dawn or Red Alert. But whatever. Yeah, I was gonna give this a listen again. I'll be right back, and then we'll get down to Radio 2 when I'm done with stuff. Or I'll make a comment basically saying where I basically move Floating or Fogger down. I might do that too. Alright, I've listened to Floating and Fogger enough. They're basically both excellent pieces. I don't think I'm going to change them. I thought it might be like, letting the nostalgia get to me there, but no, they're basically as good as they are, so. We're not going to worry about those. Now, it's worth noting that No Mercy Retaliation is basically... No Mercy is basically something that appeared in the Retaliation CD, but it was never actually in the regular game at all, like the initial one. Aftermath for Counter-Strike on PC Eater. And basically, leave this lump basically within, Command & Conquer, because it doesn't really belong here. We'll get back to it when we basically, rate all these songs at once, but it's fine. Move this. And by the way, Radio 2 is the one that has, lots of, vocals basically interspersed in it if, you go Retaliation Remix here. But I'm going to probably be looking at the ones that aren't with vocals in them, so I'll be right back. After I tell you that Basic Radio 2... Counter-Strike track. Oh, wait, this is actually one of the original ones, I guess. Makes sense. I was gonna say this before I pause it, but this sounds really odd about the vocals because there's so much one that I basically inherently think vocals. 5-finger discount, Alright, I'll be right back. Even without the vocals in this, Radio 2 is just incredible! Fantastic little song. For sure. The thing I like about Radio 2 is it has a whole lot of different rhythms and beats to it. Plus you can have the vocals that make it very distinct as well. Really love the beat to this one. Alright, Reload Fire is gonna be next. I can't remember if there's anything special about Reload Fire, but whatever. Let's remove that one. This one. Let's find out. Reload Fire. The game's end credit theme, so this is the end credits apparently. So apparently this is a Retaliation theme, or was basically in the original game, but it's called end credits. This is a really big step up from Airstrike for sure, by the way. Alright, I'll get back to you in 4 minutes, but for now, see you then. Alright, I'm getting to the end of Reload Fire here. And yeah, I'm just loving this credit theme. Enough to say it's fantastic. Alright, it's almost time to roll out, so let's just do this preemptively. So, roll out is apparently it's basically in the original stuff here, I guess. Yeah, this is the the initial OSTs here. Alright, so whoop. Well, I just got rid of roll out there by accident. I'll remove reload fire in a moment, but whatever. We'll just get back to it after I listen to this here. Alright, getting to the end of rollout here. Definitely another excellent song, so let's just throw it right there. Remove you. I'll be back basically listening to Run in a moment, but I'm actually gonna just like take a break here. So, all right. I really hope I'm able to get through the rest of the songs in this video, but we'll see. There's always room for interruptions. Always. All right. First song on the list is Run. This one starts off very slow and speeds up real fast, so. Alright, so one of the original ones was originally called Run for Your Life. I'll give it a listen. I'll be back when it's basically done. Coming to the end of Run here. So, Run is a very interesting track to basically sort of like makes me think of like, Commando-esque raids where you're being like, very underhanded and deceptive and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's a little bit like, redundant. Basically, there's like a, one part where it's basically like a little, like, real tense, and then it just sort of like cones down to really like get back to a tense moment. So it sort of like comes off lackluster as a result of it. It's not a bad song, but I think I can only say it's laudable because it does have like a, it could have been better. Alright, so the next one is Running Through Pipes. Running Through Pipes, I think, is one of the expansions. Yeah, the Aftermath right here. Mechanical Man 2, apparently. So this is Buckman 2, probably due to it using the I Am Mechanical Man clip. Peculiarly, the file name has the order of the acronym wrong. It should be RTP. Interesting. Well, let's see how Mechanical Man 2 works, I guess. I'll be right back. Well, I got interrupted while listening to this, so I had to basically restart the song, but whatever. I fully listened to it for the most part at this point. I can't really say I think much of like, Running Through Pipes. I mean, it fits with like Brawler at least. And it's like good for like background music, but it just comes off as meh to me for a little bit. Unfortunately. Alright, the next one's gonna be Shut It. So, we got a Counter-Strike theme. No additional notes, so I'll give her a listen and be right back in 4 minutes. This is a fantastic track. Alright, so Shut Up basically has like a, a lots of ups and downs basically in it as like it goes through its song. So it's like, different like sort of segments basically to it, which is nice. And it starts to slow down here toward the end. Stuff I know about some of these tracks. You don't have to really like, do a whole lot, but if you have like, some like sort of like, sort of rhythm or story basically to your song, that basically sort of like, highlight the idea, it works really well as like an OST. I mean, repetitiveness can be nice for like, games and stuff like that, but just listen to it on its own. You want to have like different things basically going on. Like I clicked 3 times there and it basically sounds different each time, right? Or did. Alright, so the next one's gonna be Smash. And Smash. That's the original one, I think. So one of the original ones. As it is combined with the hidden bonus track Surf No Mercy on the same track. So this one is basically like, combined with like, Surf No Mercy apparently. But I didn't really have anything like really like, outstanding about it, I guess. So apparently this is one of the exclusive ones to like, Retaliation, but it was probably made for like the original game. Interesting. Oh, I remember this one. Alright, I'm gonna enjoy this for a little bit and I'll be right back. You know, a lot of these tracks for like Red Alert would be so much better if it was a little bit more condensed. Because Smash is a pretty awesome track. But it has like, too much of like a downtime in between like its good parts here. And I think it's because like, all these OSTs are basically so much longer than like the original ones from like, Command & Conquer Tiberium Dawn. Smash I think is only going to be laudable because it is a like excellent track, but the downtime in between like times like this here, where like you're listening to what I am right now, this is like too much I think. All right, so Snake will be next. Snake is basically another one of these that are they're basically unlisted I think. They're not including like the regular soundtrack disc. You can actually see this right here. Basically, it's from like the Retaliation stuff right here. So it's bonus tracks. I'll give her a listen. Be right back. All right, Snake. This track really feels like it's meant to be in Tiberium Dawn. Whatever alert. I don't really care much for tone either, so it's deficient. It's the first deficient song for Red Alert OST. I mean, it's not a bad song. I'd probably rate it higher versus like some of the others when I basically rank them all together, but it does not fit at all with Red Alert. And the ending's like this nothing either, so there's that too. Alright, Terminate is next. So we got ourselves another one of the original ones. I'll be right back. So, here's another song that feels like it has an identity crisis. It doesn't really feel like it's a Red Alert song, as opposed to like, Tiberium Dawn, for example. It's a very cool song, but I think I can only say it's laudable because it doesn't really fit with the Red Alert theme. Specifically, I'd say it's like more like, a Tiberium Sun type of theme for the most part. All I can really say about that. Alright, The Search. The Search, I believe, is a Retaliation theme. Oh, it's an Aftermath track. Okay. The Aftermath. I'll give her a listen and be right back. The Search. It definitely feels like a song that I could associate more with like, Tiberium Dawn, but not entirely. It does have some earlier themes based to it. I think I'll only say it's laudable, but, it's not a bad song. Alright, The Second Hand. Here's a Counter-Strike theme, apparently. So another expansion track. I'll let The Search basically finish off here, and then I'll just move on to The Second Hand. That's the only one thing I hate about the remasters here is that it sort of has like a lot of downtime sometimes at the end of these songs. It's like there's a delay between tracks here, but you don't really need it because there's delays basically in the songs themselves. Alright, the second hand. I'll give her a listen, I'll be right back. Alright, I feel like I've been really hard on the Counter-Strike themes because a lot of them basically don't really fit with like the Red Alert sort of theme, but this one certainly does. It's very atmospheric, of course, but it's not a very bad atmosphere type of thing. I think I'm gonna give that one an excellent because it is a fairly good song for like playing in the background. All right, well that was the second hand. The next is Traction. Is in our Aftermath theme. No notes anywhere. I'll be right back in 4 minutes. Definitely another one of the regular, more sounding themes of the OST, but a little bit boring to listen to. It's a little bit too repetitive. I think I have to throw out my mediocre because even though it is a regular theme, it's just too mediocre, too like samey, through and through. Precious is next. I believe that's one of the original themes. Nope, it's an unlisted track. Okay. So this will appear in a bonus. Nope, one of the originals. Okay. Well, one of the bonus tracks. Just off the bat, by the way, this feels like it's like, a Doom music, but, I'll give it a listen through and I'll tell you guys what I think about it at the end. There is something to say about these very long songs. Sometimes they're just too long. I feel like if he basically knocked off the first 2 minutes of his song, and probably like, just ended around like the 4:25 like minute mark after that, like, this had like 2.5 like, minute song, it would have been so much more in tune with like, Red Alert, but this feels too close to like Doom with like, its opening and like this ending here, so I've only got to give it someone a laudable for that, unfortunately. It's a good little like, song, but it just doesn't really feel like it's Red Alert. I'll have to check what the next music is. So, Twin Cannon. Okay, here's a really good one for Red Alert. So, Twin Cannon. Listening game is Twin. One of the original ones. It's also one of the ones that gets a Retaliation Remix, by the way, as well, so I can't remember if there's like any like, vocals for this one, but whatever. Anyhow, I'll see you guys in like, 3 minutes or so. Lots of bits and pieces to Twin Cannon. I can see it being like a Doom piece, but it does feel distinctly Red Alert because of how it starts up, so it's an excellent piece. Nothing spectacular, of course, but it's an excellent piece. Alright, Underlying Thoughts, remastered. So there's a Counter-Strike one. No notes, so I'll give her a listen, I'll be right back. I'm not really sure I want to say it's like not Red Alert, but this is not a theme that really fits with like the sort of high octane gameplay of like, Red Alert, so there is that about, Underlying Thoughts here. Kind of mediocre for a song, unfortunately. Not much more I can basically say about it than that. Alright, after Underlying Thoughts is Vector. I can type. One of the original ones here is Vector. Yep, the original one. We'll just let underlying thoughts here finish. Starts off slow, but starts to groove a little bit. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Well, I like Vector more than underlying thoughts, but not much more. Again, it's basically another theme that feels like it could be Red Alert, but it's not really doing that much, so I think I'll throw in Laudable, and that's where it's basically going to stay for now. Last three, by the way, we got Voice Rhythm 2 coming up next. So there's a Counter-Strike track here, apparently. So, I probably didn't hear this back in the day because there was an error in the track, but whatever. Let's see how number 2 basically does versus number 1. Interesting start. Alright, I'll give it a listen and be right back. The pacing of this one it's just too close to Tiberium Dawn again, this one. I mean, the sounds are probably fine for Red Alert, but it's just too slow. It's more like a Tiberium Dawn thing than it is like, for Red Alert because like, how slow BC is, so yeah, tempo's just not enough in this one, so I think it's just another laudable one. And it's worth knowing by a lot of these songs are not bad, it's just that they're not for Red Alert really, in like their sort of feeling. Alright, an Aftermath track here, Wasteland. Make me think of the wastelands in Siberia. Alright, well, I'll be right back in a little bit. Well, this is going to get repetitive, but I already know it's been repetitive. It sounds more like Tiberium Sun than it does like, Red Alert. It just makes me think of like, the Titans just walking through the Tiberium more than it does like, heavy tanks basically rolling toward the Allied forces and stuff like that. Or vice versa, like Allied tanks basically clean up the wastelands. Good song, but just, it's laudable. Alright, well, one more basically go for, Workman. And it's interesting how the Workman remix is basically like, a bit shorter. I'll probably give both these a listen just to see what makes, makes them different, but whatever. At least this one's Red Alert. Alright, well, we'll conclude this with this last song. I'll just give it a listen through and then come right back. I'm really tempted to say that the Retaliation Remix, there's its like own like, little icon basically here, but it's still Workman. It's just shorter. Either way, both these themes are pretty excellent, so that's where I'm going to throw Workman. Alright, well, that's basically it for all the OSTs that, like, I'm ranking basically for, like, Red Alert here. There's still all the bonus tracks, of course, to, like, look through. And it'll be fun. But I'll do those basically in their own, like, sort of, video, basically, so
Battle control terminated.
that's it for this one. We're just going to save this one as DFuxa's Red Alert OSTs, and if I can only copy this correctly. Now let's just delete this right now, so out of the way. And there we go. Another tier list is basically done for you guys. And our tier list basically made. See you guys in the next one, and then the one that comes after that where I basically tally all of them all together. Until then, take care. So, I thought I was done, but I decided to give like all the Retaliation remixes a listen again, and I really felt that they really should be getting their own like rating here, so to speak. So I went back into my list here and basically just added the icons for the remixes. Now I'm gonna rate them. But before I do, I'm just gonna move like Crush down here to like excellent tier, I think. Not Crush, but Crush Retaliation Remix here. Something about the remixes is that they tend to have a lot of like sounds in them, like vocals and stuff like that. Sometimes like vocals are fine, but I find that for a lot of these are like not really like sort of adding to the song, but sort of taking away from it. And I feel like even though Chris has got a really excellent beat, the part that basically has the song in is sort of like hurts it, and I don't think there's like any like OST I can basically go to basically reference without like the vocals. So yeah, down excellent it goes as a result. Anyhow, I got 6 more of these basically to go through. I'm going to start with the Hellmark's Retaliation Remix. And just from the start here, you can tell it's like, it's different because you don't have like the boost stomping right away, but you have like the, the college song first. Different for sure, so I'll be right back. And yeah, unlit the remixes are all with the Retaliation CD, so I really don't need to tell you where they all are from. They're all from Retaliation. From the consoles. Alright, coming to the end of the Hellmark's Retaliation Remix. And much like with like, Crush is like Retaliation Remix, there's not a whole lot of vocals in it, but there's enough to sort of detract from it. And I'll note that for the most part, I really do like the song. Like the song parts of it. Though I do feel it's a little bit more like, akin to say Red Alert 2 than like, Red Alert 1. And you also sort of like note the vocal spot where you have like, the vocals start around the 220 mark.
Everything scorched earth. Give him help. Give him help.
Say, the effects are quite permanent.
There's not that many like, lyrics, but there's enough of it, so yeah. Let's put the Mud Retaliation Remix on. And think about it, I'm actually going to move Crush Retaliation Remix all the way down to the end here because these are basically added after, so let's just keep them after. Alright, so I'll note that with Hellmarks, I basically had it basically as fantastic. And I basically had like, well, I don't really have on this like, one here. I've actually already gone through like, ranking like Hellmarks 2's like, and Freeze Melody. So let's throw that right here. We'll slow this up. So I actually ranked that was basically like, excellent. And I do feel it's a fairly excellent track, but I'm not really sure it's like totally excellent. So I'm gonna throw this basically down here in Laudable, I think. That's where I think like Retaliation Remix basically belongs. So let's throw it there. By the way, I was thinking about also going through like, the OSTs that basically came from different Sons, but I figured like, there's not basically enough difference between them and like the original ones because there is basically the same tunes except with like some guitar music and other stuff he's thrown in. So yeah. Those ones I think I'll obviously keep out. Alright, time to listen to Mud. So I'll be right back. Alright, well. The Mud Retaliation Remix is like, different. But not really much more to say than that. So, I said Mud was basically a laudable song. And I guess, like, I want to say the same thing for, like, Mud Retaliation Remix, so let's throw it right there. This doesn't have any, like, vocals in it, but, it's just, like, not really doing anything really special, so, yeah. And yes, No Mercy Retaliation Remix. It is different from No Mercy from, Command and Conquer, so I figured... Let's go through it. And by the way, rate No Mercy is being like, fantastic. So yeah. You know what? Well, I'm thinking about, I was actually thinking about like, Act on Instinct, and I think I actually rated it too low. So Act on Instinct I basically rated as being like, excellent, but I really do feel it actually should be like up to like, fantastic, so. They're throw it up there, I think. Lots of good stuff basically from like, CNC Tip John. That really deserves to be up there, I think. Alright, I'll just like, edit all that stuff and be right back. I figure I should probably, leave it on here. So, No Mercy Retaliation Remix is still like, pretty awesome. But I'll note basically like, somewhere around the end here we basically have like a sort of like, bit of vocals to sort of end it off with. I believe. At least I think so. Huh. I guess the Retaliation Remix doesn't actually have vocals in it. That's nice. Let's throw this basically up to fantastic then, because that's where it deserves to be. Terrible. Radio 2, by the way, is one of like all the vocals in it, like all the way through, so I'll just leave it on for a little bit so you can actually start hearing the vocals right away. So, red alert, red alert, red alert. This is one that like has like all the unit quotes like sporadically thrown into it like constantly. And it actually fine if I actually had like this a few vocals this song, but the unit quotes just go crazy. Talking about now. Oh, so the red alert part. Oh, there we go. I mean, this would have been a fun song to basically listen to as a kid, by the way, Radio 2. And it certainly was basically fun to basically listen to itself. Here we go. Alright, that's basically enough of that. Basically, Radio 2 is just gonna be like, a bunch of unit quotes and eventually I'll have like Stalin quoting himself about the, 10 million, like, statistic. I don't want to waste too much more time basically like, padding out this like, list here, so. Now, Twin Cran's kind of interesting because it does have the vocals at the beginning there, but it's not as bad as like some of the other ones. So I'll give it that. I rate Twin Cran as being excellent, by the way, before. I might be doing the same again with this one. We'll see. Alright, I'll give it a listen and be right back. Well, it's kind of nice to basically have a song with, like, the vocals at the front there, because you just basically get the vocals and you start to, get go of it. Compared to many of the other remix songs, it's actually, like, at least gonna stay the same as, like, the other one here, so. Twin Cans was basically excellent before, the Retaliation Remix is just as excellent as it is now, I guess, for the most part. Alright, one more to go through, Workman. Again, I'll be right back. We'll let it jam for a little bit. Oh, I think Workman's seemingly shorter is like, you know, a song here, so at least a minute off, basically, everyone. Alright, I will let it go right there, and let's like be right back. Alright, that's the last one. Workman Retaliation Remix basically just sounds very similar, but you know, it's just some shorter for the most part. A little bit different here and there, but whatever. Alright, well, that's basically it for this now. Actually, let's just leave this for now. Let's deal with it in a moment. So, Workman Retaliation Remix, still pretty awesome. Excellent song overall. Alright, so just my tier list basically done again. I won't bother like showing you the saving for this part, so let's just include it here. It's been a very long tier list. I'm going to break it into 2 parts for sure. Take care. See you guys when we get to like the big tally of everything, because I'll be doing soon.